Welcome to the deep dive. We're the place that, filters through all the noise to find those bits of knowledge you can really use. Today, we're doing more than just filtering. We're actually taking a bit of a trip back in time. Try and picture this. Victorian London, maybe around 1890. You've got horse-drawn carriages, rattling on the cobblestones, the smell of coal smoke in the air, flickering gas lamps. It feels distant, but you'll find some surprising connections to our world.
Oh, absolutely. Behind those, lace curtains and brick fronts, families were living life with a kind of practicality, an ingenuity that feels quite different now. Their whole take on resources wasn't just about getting by. It was deeper, like a philosophy of getting the absolute most out of everything.
Exactly. And that's really our mission for this deep dive. We want to uncover some genuinely surprising, very practical secrets from back then. Think of it less like a history lesson, more like finding useful insights. It's kind of a shortcut, really, to understanding some timeless wisdom that could genuinely make things a bit simpler, maybe more sustainable for you today.
Yeah, the absolute core idea, I think, is their principle. Everything has value. And that wasn't just a nice saying, it was how they operated. If something could possibly be fixed or used for something else or shared, they did it. It's such a contrast to our modern throwaway culture.
Everything has value. That really hits home, doesn't it? It makes you think how that mindset could cut through some of the overwhelm we feel today, focusing on things that last, things that are intentional. So, okay, let's step into this Victorian world. Where should we start?
Well, I think a good place is with how they treated their possessions. The whole idea of making things last. That art of resourceful reuse and repair.
The classic make do and mend idea. That was huge for them, wasn't it? Our sources show, like, a torn shirt wasn't just tossed. No, it was patched, stitched up, given a whole second life. It wasn't just saving pennies, was it? It was about respecting the thing itself.
Exactly. And that respect, that dedication, it really sparked creativity, too. Think about fabric. Cloth, for Victorians, was incredibly precious, almost like gold. So a dress, maybe it's outgrown or a bit worn, it might become a child's outfit. Or old curtains could end up as cushion covers. It shows such a deep understanding of the work and resources that went into making textiles, which is, worlds away from fast fashion today. This model built on quick trends and things not meant to last.
Right, and it wasn't just clothes. Shoes, for example. They weren't just replaced when they got worn. They'd be repaired, resold, kept going for years, sometimes longer. That shows a real connection to their things, seeing them as, I suppose, investments rather than just temporary stuff.
Precisely. And that whole mindset nurtured resourcefulness across the board. They got really good at altering clothes. They already had to give them a fresh look long before we started talking about upcycling, turning old things into something new or better. It kind of challenges us, doesn't it, to look at our own stuff and think not just what's new, but what else could this become?
Okay, sticking with that theme of being clever with everyday things.
Correct.
Let's shift from clothes and shoes to the Victorian home itself. Heating, for instance. That was a major cost. So purely out of necessity, they became masters of, smart home and energy management, Victorian style. We see it in how they kept warm, lots of layers, right? And bedrooms were often kept quite cool.
Yes, it's a kind of ingenious simplicity. They didn't just sit there freezing. They found ways. Hot water bottles are a great example, often filled from the kettle they'd already boiled for tea. So you're using that leftover heat. It's about maximizing every bit of energy in the house. It's actually quite relevant to modern ideas about passive heating and energy efficiency, just on a simpler scale.
And they were resourceful in the kitchen, too, not just with staying warm. Batch cooking, for example, that was common practice to save on firewood. They were thinking ahead, weren't they? Making the most of their fuel, which wasn't easy to come by.
That's right. And that relates directly to saving energy in our kitchens today, whether it's gas or electric. Cooking in bigger batches just means firing up the stove less often.
Yeah.
It's still a really practical habit. And it connects to their whole ethos of using every single scrap of food. Nose to tail eating, using vegetable bits for stock. That phrase, waste not, want not, it wasn't just a catchy phrase. It was how they lived, getting the most out of absolutely everything.
Now, here's one that might surprise people today. Apparently, they used newspapers for insulation. I mean, they didn't have fiberglass or foam board, so they used what they had to keep the drafts out.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Almost like an early eco-hack. They understood, maybe intuitively, that trapping air helps keep warmth in. So stuffing walls or attics with paper, it uses the same basic principle as modern insulation, just with readily available stuff. Amazing ingenuity, really. And that cleverness extended to their furniture, too. Lots of pieces did double duty. Think of chests with secret drawers or benches where the seat lifts up for storage. Really smart design for saving space, something that's incredibly relevant now with smaller living spaces.
And finally, light. It wasn't just flicking a switch. Candles, lamps, often homemade, seen as precious and definitely used sparingly, they really valued that light, understanding the effort and resources behind it.
That's a powerful parallel to thinking about our own energy use today, isn't it? When you're involved in making your light source, or you know it's limited, use it much more deliberately. It's a good reminder to be conscious of how much energy we use, maybe even the energy embedded in all the things we buy.
Okay, let's shift from the house itself to how Victorians fed themselves sustainably. Even people in cities, if they just had a window box, they'd be growing herbs.
Yes, and beyond just saving money, it gives you a real connection to your food, doesn't it? A sense of where it comes from, the effort involved. We kind of lose that with long supply chains today. It's not just about the pennies. It's about having some control, some skill, and then whatever they grew or got, they preserved it. You can just imagine those kitchens smelling of vinegar and spices with all the pickling and bottling going on. It meant nothing was wasted. Even slightly bruised apples found a use. That's a powerful lesson for our modern food waste problems.
They were also, in a way, kind of ahead of their time with diet. Meat often wasn't the main event. Meals were stretched out with things like oats and vegetables. Partly economics, sure, but maybe healthier too, without even realizing it.
Absolutely. And if you look at it now, it mirrors the trends towards more plant-based eating. Plus, it's a really effective way to save money on groceries today. That reliance on plants over meat, it led to some really diverse cooking. And their eating habits were totally tied to the seasons. Berries in summer, root vegetables in winter. It just made sense. Things were fresher, cheaper. But it also meant a deeper connection to local farming cycles, which is something we often miss with global year-round food availability.
It's becoming clear their whole approach was quite holistic. It wasn't just about things and food, but community, daily life. Take cleaning, for example. What were their go-to cleaners? Vinegar, soap, lemon juice.
Right. And the striking thing is, those methods still work really well. And obviously, they're much more eco-friendly than a lot of the chemical cleaners we use now. Their effectiveness has lasted. It shows that good solutions aren't always complicated or manufactured.
And what about downtime? Entertainment looked very different. Storytelling, playing music, games, these were central activities at home. It wasn't passive consumption like watching screens. It was about doing things together, creating the experience.
Yeah, it's a stark contrast to how we often consume media today, isn't it? Where
Yep.
algorithms often feed us content passively. Victorian home entertainment needed active involvement, creating shared moments. It engaged people differently, socially and mentally. And gift-giving often followed that same principle. Gifts were frequently handmade, a knitted scarf, a jar of homemade jam. That puts the focus on thoughtfulness, effort, personal value, rather than just how much something cost.
Community seems key too. Neighbors sharing things, tools, helping with childcare, pooling resources. That sounds like it was pretty common.
Oh, definitely. That mutual aid was vital. It built resilience. Why should everyone own a ladder if you can borrow one from next door? It just makes sense. It strengthened community ties and made life easier for everyone. And that practice also supported local exchange through bartering. Swapping eggs for milk or mending clothes in return for some bread. That's not just a quaint old custom. It's basically the forerunner of today's sharing economy ideas, community-based resourcefulness.
Which naturally leads to secondhand shopping being normal. Our sources say it wasn't a trend or a statement, just how things were done.
Exactly. And that links straight to the charity shops and vintage stores we have today and the whole idea of sustainable consumption. It recognizes that things still have value after one person has used them. Their life can be extended. Even personal grooming was simpler. Hairstyles tend to be practical, elegant, but not needing loads of expensive products. It connects to minimalist beauty ideas today and obviously saves money. It makes you question how much of our modern routines are truly necessary versus just consumer trends.
And if someone felt unwell, minor things were often treated with home remedies, herbs, things from the kitchen cupboard.
Yes, relying on natural solutions they had on hand. It resonates with the renewed interest we see today in herbalism and holistic health. Maybe not reaching for a pill for every little thing, a more self-reliant approach for minor issues.
Okay, let's pull this all together. Let's talk about what we could call their radical resourcefulness. This philosophy that sort of underpins everything. Rainwater collection, for instance. Such a practical, direct way to save water.
Absolutely. The environmental benefits are clear, and it still has modern uses like for watering the garden. It's about using natural resources directly, a very pragmatic kind of ecological thinking. And, well, even something like the chamber pot.
Right. Maybe not one we're rushing to bring back into daily use.
Probably not. But the principle behind it is still crucial. That principle is reuse absolutely everything possible. That mindset, making every single resource count, finding a use for everything that absolutely applies today, even if the specific methods change, it just hammers home that core Victorian idea. Nothing should really be wasted.
So after exploring all this Victorian frugality, this real wealth of ideas, what's the main takeaway? What's the big lesson you, our listener, should really hold on to from this deep dive?
For me, it keeps coming back to that foundational rule. Everything has value. It wasn't just talk, it was how they lived. If it could be fixed, reused, shared, they did it. It's about building a real respect for resources, for the skill involved in making things, and for the community around you, recognizing the energy and work that goes into everything.
And that perspective, that mindset, is still incredibly relevant, incredibly powerful today. It's not really about depriving yourself. It's more about living with more intention, valuing what you actually have. So maybe take a moment to think. Which of these Victorian ideas clicks with you? Could you start a small herb pot? Try mending something you love instead of replacing it? Or just pause before throwing something away and think, could this be useful somehow?
And maybe here's a final thought to chew on. Just consider how much our modern convenience culture has, perhaps unintentionally, trained us to undervalue everyday things. What if we truly embrace that Victorian idea that everything has real inherent worth and potential? How might that actually change our buying habits, our relationship with our stuff, maybe even how connected we feel to our communities? It's definitely something worth considering in our fast-paced world.